Hey, Who Dat Nation, Brendan Boylan here with the Saints News Network halftime report. The Atlanta Falcons lead the New Orleans Saints 10-0 at the half, and it has been a dismal offensive performance through the air for the New Orleans Saints to this point. As many catches as they have drops, 5 receptions for Saints receivers, tight ends, to 5 drops. So though Trevor Siemian's performance, 5 of 11 for 34 yards, may look poor on the stat sheet, you take those 5 drops, you turn those into receptions, he's 10 of 11, and who knows where the New Orleans Saints would be. Let's go ahead and dive into some of the numbers. You see the Trevor Siemian stat line on your screen. As I said, 5 of 11 for 34 yards. Alvin Kamara, the Saints' leading rusher, 7 rushes for 42 yards. Mark Ingram, 6 carries for 32 yards. Also note that he is 31 yards away from passing Deuce McAllister for the New Orleans Saints all-time rushing yards leader. That's something to watch in the second half. On the other side, for the Atlanta Falcons, Matt Ryan, 15 of 20 for 178 yards, and you saw that touchdown right before the half, a perfectly placed ball between 3 New Orleans Saints defenders. That gives the Falcons the first touchdown of the Week 9 contest. Not too much on the ground for the Falcons. The Saints have done a really good job up front against the run, as they have for the past 3 seasons. 15 carries for 32 yards combined amongst 4 different rushers for the Atlanta Falcons. That's an average of 2.1 yards per carry. So the New Orleans Saints, obviously no Jameis Winston, torn ACL last week against Tampa Bay. Trevor Siemian gets the nod over Taysom Hill, something that a lot of us didn't expect. We expected something maybe similar to last season, where when Drew Brees went out, it was Jameis Winston that came in relief that game and Taysom Hill down the rest of the way. So we saw something completely different this go-round. Seen Taysom Hill a little bit in his gadget role. But D. Johnson, thank you so much for joining us today. Drop passes by the receivers and tight ends. Can't seem to get it together on offense. As I said at the beginning of the broadcast here, 5 drops to 5 receptions for Saints today. D continues and says, Siemian is doing his job. It's not his fault with the points that are needed. Yes, if those drops were receptions, you're looking at 10 of 11 passing today for Trevor Siemian. Bob Rose and I spoke on it at the pregame show. He's not joining me for the halftime. He's in the Superdome today. I think we expected Siemian to come in and play just a field general manager type of a role for the Saints today. You're seeing that not a whole lot of shots deep downfield. The one on the left sideline to Kenny Stills was dropped early in the first quarter, but you're just seeing Siemian manage the game and really rely on those running backs in Kamara and Ingram. And while the Saints have been able to move the ball a little bit through the run game, it has been the penalties that have killed the New Orleans Saints to this point. I think the defense has done a decent job. As I mentioned, they've been very good against the run today, holding the Atlanta Falcons to merely 32 yards on 15 carries. It's through the air where they're actually getting beat up a little bit, which is a little bit of a surprise considering the Falcons are without their number 1 target, Calvin Ridley. Today, he stepped away from football to take care of his mental health, something that his teammate Hayden Hurst has really harped on over the past few seasons. So no Ridley. Bob was telling us in the pregame just a couple guys to watch, and Kyle Pitts was one of those guys for the Atlanta Falcons. And Pitts is the team's leading receiver at this point, 3 receptions for 62 yards with a long of 39. He's got 6 targets. That also leads the Falcons so far today. But the New Orleans Saints defense, I feel like that the defensive line's doing an okay job in terms of getting towards Matt Ryan, but Ryan has been more elusive than maybe Saints fans have seen in his long tenured career with the Atlanta Falcons. And he's able to extend plays, make some plays, and any time that you have a quarterback that is able to get out of the pocket, extend plays, that just makes it so much harder on the secondary, and the Falcons have taken advantage of that to this point. D with another comment, Saints need to own the second half and own it like a 5-star hotel. I agree. I think the biggest thing is, like I said, I think the defense has done a pretty solid job to this point outside of that last drive that went 92 yards for the touchdown. The offense has to find something. And if some of those drop passes resulted in receptions. You're looking at a completely different ball game. That's been one of the biggest things with the Saints team, is just not having a consistency from the wide receiver spot, whether that's been because of injury or just practice squad elevations and just some youthful guys. And that's a big reason that Odell Beckham Jr. has been brought up as much this week as he has. Reports this morning that people close to Odell believe if he is able to clear waivers, it's down to the Saints or the 49ers. Those are his preferred destinations. Ryan looks like he's got hot bacon grease on him. He escapes and gets the first down. Like I said, Matt Ryan has done a really good job getting out of the pocket, evading some of that pressure. Remember, Cameron Jordan loves playing against Matt Ryan, has more sacks on Matt Ryan than any player in his NFL career. And it's the NFL record for most sacks from one defensive player to one quarterback in NFL history, the amount of sacks that Cam Jordan has on Matt Ryan. And like I said, I think the Saints have done a good job getting to Ryan. He's just doing a great job extending plays. The Saints have made the Falcons nearly one-dimensional, but just haven't been able to get off the field. You're looking at self-inflicted wounds as well for the Saints. We mentioned some of those penalties for New Orleans. They got 5 penalties for 34 yards. That doesn't sound like a whole lot, but obviously some of those things add up. And you look at the one drive where the Saints were backed up to 3rd and 29. That certainly doesn't help you. Michael Jordan, not the Michael Jordan, but Mike Jordan says need to put Taysom Hill in the second half ASAP. As I said at the beginning, I don't think it's all on Trevor Siemian when you have as many drops as you do completions. I don't think it's so much on the quarterback at that point. But it is interesting because we heard all week that you would get a heavy dose of Taysom Hill in this game, and even at quarterback. And I know that the Fox broadcast mentioned that as well prior to kickoff, and we haven't seen Taysom Hill take a snap at quarterback at this side. D also says bright side is they're only up 10 points. I've been there before. Yeah, this is certainly a game the Saints are still in. This isn't a point where it's time to hit the panic button. I think with the Saints getting the ball in the second half, they're able to mount something offensively to go get some sort of points, whether it's 3 or whether it's 7. The Saints are right back in this football game. I'll give you guys just a little bit longer to put any questions in the queue before we get off. Again, your halftime score 10-0 in favor of the Falcons. D says, let's give props to Boom and Zoom. They're doing a great job for the Saints so far. As I mentioned, Alvin Kamara leading the team in rushing to this point for the New Orleans Saints. 7 carries for 42 yards. Mark Ingram, 6 carries for 32. Those guys have combined to do a really good job. You add the Alex Armour run for 9 yards. The Saints averaging nearly 6 yards per carry. It's working. The offensive recipe is working. But the drops, the penalties at inopportune times have doomed the Saints to this point. And it's one thing that the Saints have been all season long is confusing offensively. Will the second half be sponsored by Stickum? Only if Stickum was still legal. But no, the Saints receivers need to do a much better job of hanging on to the football. Not a whole lot of guys on the roster that have a whole lot of NFL experience. And that's one thing that we talked about all year this year, and how surprising it was the Saints going all the way back to April's draft that they didn't draft a receiver. That's starting to show a little bit now, because without Michael Thomas for the 2021 season, it's going to be tough going down the stretch. Well, guys, that's all the time we have for the halftime show. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Next week, we'll have Bob Rose back for pregame and for halftime. Make sure you catch the game recap with the Saints News Network over at si.com/NFL/Saints. That'll be brought to you by our very own John Hendricks. We'll have all of your coverage of the Week 9 matchup between the Saints and the Falcons. For myself, you can follow me over on Twitter at BT Boylan. That's BTBoylan. Can't wait to see you guys next week, and enjoy the second half Saints-Falcons Week 9. We'll see you next week.